Alright, hey, it's Codeweaver here. Let's get right back into this. My audio levels appear okay. So, I was just doing KSP over the last couple hours. I'm going to do a little bit more of it, because that's just fun. This is not my first playthrough of KSP's career mode. It is the first one within the last year or so, I guess, maybe a little bit less. So there's a few new things in there. The shtick that I've got going on here is my primary Kerbals for my missions are not the standard ones, which if you haven't been paying attention to my last one, and haven't been paying attention to the tradition or to the Twitch title that I'm using, you'll have to see in a minute. So where did we get to? We got to, otherwise it's just bog standard KSP. So, lots of streamers doing this sort of thing. I just decided that since I was playing it, why not stream a bit of it? So, I've gotten to the point where I have gotten a lot of the science from the local biomes, up to the point of the Science Junior Station, more or less completely mapped out. It took me about 2.5 hours. To do all of that. Of course, I was babbling in the process. I might have been able to do it maybe a half hour faster otherwise. Maybe an hour, I don't know. This is not a speed run. However, I'm now in the position where I can start doing sort of the career mode proper, where I start building crafts and taking on challenges for money and the like. If you just want to see people build really complicated crafts, there are people doing non-career mode out there. I can recommend Scott Manley's got piles and piles of videos. EJ_SA has piles and piles of video footage of just building stuff for the sake of building stuff. And of course, lots of people doing career mode too. I'm doing this just because I feel like it. So, we have 131 tech banked, and the question is, where do I want to go from here in terms of where I spend that tech? Now, my choices come down at this point to this. Basically, I need a lot of money in order to upgrade my facilities. And one of the limitations that I have early on is that I can only build ships that have up to, I think, 30 parts as my maximum, and my tonnage is limited as well. So I have to get to the point to doing those upgrades on both the pad and the VAB. And I tend to find that when I go science heavy, I can get bigger parts that keep my part count down, but there's not a lot I can do about keeping my tonnage down. So I tend to want to get the ship, the pad built to be stronger as one of my first upgrades. We'll see how that plays out. What this means in practical terms, though, is I'm not going to spend this science just yet. I am going to go and see what tasks I can do for money. I also, by the way, want to upgrade mission control. Eventually, I want to upgrade that so that I can take on more missions at once, because often you can set up missions where you can do double, triple, quadruple duty on some of these. I don't know if anybody's... it doesn't look like I have any viewers from the previous... Oh, I have one viewer who has come back in. Hi, whoever you are. You just showed up on my my number list for how many people I got watching. If you say hi in the chat, great. If you don't, I hope you have fun watching. I'm just going to be seeing what I can do here. Now, some of these I don't need to take explicitly, like Escape the Atmosphere and Orbit Kerbin, because I think they automatically get accepted and resolved when I accept and resolve them. So I'm going to... I can only take 2 though, so I'm gonna check what I can do in terms of getting money out of this. So this one requires that I take a crew report in flight below 16,400 meters near a particular area. The reason I don't like these right now is because I don't have enough parts to be able to get enough complicated parts to get just anywhere on Kerbin easily. And I don't do space planes all that much anyway. At least not until way later in the game. So, I'm going to tend to avoid the observational studies for the moment. Testing the heat shield is a potential thing. I got to haul a heat shield up a ways to a particular height, which I got to be very careful because I got to be able to get there at a particular speed. I think I can probably do this, though. I can test the swivel engine. Okay, this one I can do at the launch site. Okay, so I literally have to test it on the ground. Easy money. Let's take that one, get it over with. Test the solid fuel booster in flight over Kerbin. This requires me to get up a certain distance and then activate the part through the staging experience. Now, what that means is that any engine that's below it is going to get destroyed at this point when I activate it. And so if I try to do the swivel one along with this one at the same time, I'm going to have that problem. Test the decoupler at the launch site. So these are all, a lot of these are stuff that I can do right at the launch site. So let's just take a couple of these. I should have actually taken the 2 decoupler ones at once. But let's make some easy money. Now, a lot of these easy money things are going to be things that don't involve a lot of building, and they don't involve a lot of flight. So bear with me. This is good to generate capital. So we're going to go with. Let's see. What am I going to call this? We're going to call this the Bog ship. We'll actually make it new. We're just going to call it Bog. Because I feel like it, and then we're just going to, I don't know, we're gonna recover all these bits anyway, so we're gonna do that. Now the parts, okay, so the let me see here, decoupler at the launch site. The things we need to do: test the swivel fuel engine at the launch site, and the note on that is activate the part through the staging sequence, and we can also do the decoupler. So, okay. So the swivel, right? Swivel. Okay, so I've already bought that part, so that's okay. So we're gonna throw that on there. We can just test it. We don't even need any fuel. And we're going to quickly do the. Is it the radial decoupler you're after? It is the TD12 decoupler. That's actually this guy. Okay, fair enough. I actually already bought those parts, and that's fine. So what we're gonna do is we're actually just gonna put this on top of the craft because it really doesn't matter. It's goofy looking, but it does not matter one bit. So let's go out to the launch pad. I'm going to be able to recover most of this. Here we go. So, I think we have to do both of these just through staging, but what we can do is we can lock that open. So we're at the Kerbin and launch site, so we've got that set up for us, Kerbin and launch site. To perform the test, activate the part through the staging sequence. So, staging sequence. That one's successful. Staging sequence. That one's successful. We've got our money. We can recover the vessel. Which gives us 110,000. Oh, sorry. It didn't give us 110,000. That's our maximum. But in terms of science, it got us. I don't think anything much. We got 1,200 funds from testing one of the parts and 588 for testing the other. Oh no, that's recovery. Those are parts recovered. Okay. Next. Okay, next. Right then. Okay, so let's go back to mission control and see what else we can get. We can test another radial decoupler at the launch site. Let's actually take that. Test. Escape the atmosphere. Test the heat shield in flight over Kerbin. Test the radial mount parachute in flight over Kerbin. So we have to test this other one at the launch pad. So let's figure out another one that we can do once we're in flight. So, so we need to be between 63,000 and 69,000 meters to be able to do that one. And going at a particular speed once we're up there. That's actually a non-trivial speed to achieve once we're up there with our current tech. Although we do have a lot of science to do new tech. This one we have to get a flea solid fuel booster up to 48,000 meters, and at a particular speed, and then activate it. That's a plausible one. Radial mount parachute. We have to be between 4,000 and 7,000 meters. That's actually really easy to get to at a very slow speed, and then testing the radial mount parachute. We can totally do that one, and it's worth quite a bit of prestige. This one's actually really easy to do. So we're going to accept that contract. So, going back into the VAB and using this bog throwaway ship. So we don't need that anymore. So what do we need? We need the radial mount parachute, and we need to test the radial decoupler. Oh, hang on. I'm gonna lock that in. Hang on. Lock that open. Test the radial mount parachute in flight. So we've got to get up a ways. We're gonna do that cheaply. We're going to do that with. I mean, we are going to recover these bits because I'm going to throw a parachute on top of this, I guess. Brain, utility. It's cargo, communications, electrical. I am having difficulty with utilities right on the bottom. Why can I not see that? Okay, so there's that. Now we also have this part. It's experimental, which means it costs more. It also means, incidentally, that if it's a part that we might need for other challenges, we could take advantage of the fact that we're going to test this experimentally and do other stuff with it. But in this case, we're not going to monkey around with that. We're just going to get a couple of these. We're going to paste them to the side of this thing. And actually, you know what? We've already got the tech to do liquid fuel rockets. So, and we're going to recover this anyway. So let's see what happens when we just strap these two together and make this little guy fly. Now we want to test the side parachutes kind of independently in case something goes wrong. So let's add another stage where the engine goes, and let's add another stage where these side ones go. And if we something goes wrong and we test them but they get torn off, I still have the final chute. So let's save that and let's hit launch. And let's let Rainbow Dash do her thing. So here we go, Rainbow Dash. Full thrust. Now let's monitor this. So we need to test the radial decoupler. Oh, we don't have the radial decoupler on that. Revert flight, revert back to the VAB. We got to do both of these at once because now that we're starting to go up and now that we possibly are starting to throw away ships, we have to make every launch sort of count for us. So where is that radial decoupler? That would be in coupling. We need a radial decoupler, which is just going to go on the side here, and pair them to balance everything out. That's going to be on the ground, so we're actually going to test those as the first stage, which is weird, but there it goes. All right, let's get back out on the launch pad, people. And I don't have any more bubbly. This is an untenable position. I'm just going to walk through my apartment, and you can hear my voice fading into the background as I go get the other bottle of bubbly that I have. Somewhere. Alright, so there we go. I have more bubbly, and by bubbly I mean Coke Zero. Oh, and fizz everywhere, but fortunately not very sugary fizz. There we go. A little bit more of that. Right. The only break that I will have to take, which I will do when it arrives, is to go pick up my food from the lobby downstairs, which I will race off and do at the appropriate time. I am monitoring that in another window. Hang on, I'm just going to make sure that I don't miss that because that would be embarrassing. But I have that set up so that I can watch that. All right. Bubbly done. I have sushi on the way, which will make me very, very happy. I will probably shut down the stream once again when that happens, just so that I'm not eating at people. it'll give me a chance to take a temporary break and maybe rocket around in Outer Wilds for a few minutes off stream. But then I will be back to this because I kind of feel like this is my KSP week. I may be doing a lot of this. I'm feeling the pull back into this game. Incidentally, I don't know if you can actually see that from here, but check out my flag in the background. Very pony-esque. I believe that is from... Actually, you know what? This is from... I'm going to actually tell you. This is called Stellar Alignment Emblem by MK-MLP. EMKAY. MK-MLP from DeviantArt. And they have done a whole bunch of various NLP-related flags, and I decided I needed that custom. This is one of the other things I can do to pony up this thing here, just because I'm in that mood. So, without further ado, let's do this thing. So, keeping an eye on the mission considerations. Radial decoupler. Explosively successful, in fact. The next one, however, we're set at full thrust for launch. Now we have to get to 4,000 to 10,000 meters and be at a particular speed. So this may take a few attempts, but we're a pretty lightweight ship. So let's see what happens as we go up. First of all, we have to make sure that we can get to 7,000 or 4,000 meters. And at full thrust we can, but we're going way too fast, and then we're going to cross 7,000 before we slow down enough. So, what have we learned? We have learned that we're going to have to slow down partway on the way up. Alright, so let's do this thing again. Open up the mission log so we keep running. So, launch, full thrust, let's go up, and we're going to cut thrust at about half fuel usage and then feather it and see what goes on. So off, we're way too fast. We are way too fast. So we're at 220, 200, 100. There we go. We're at the right speed and height. Test the radial chutes. Successful. And this is going to slow us down even though we're going vertically. And then we're going to turn around. And just for the sake of safety, we're going to deploy the last one, and we're just going to gently come to the ground. Now we're going to accelerate physics here because there's no reason why not. We're going to descend gently into the ocean. Alright. And now we're coming down. So one of the things I want to do is I want to build up enough funds as fast as possible. There's a couple of things I want to do. Obviously, I want to expand the launch pad, because I think that's going to be my biggest bottleneck. Did I come down properly? No, I'm still coming down. That's going to be one of my major bottlenecks, is the launch pad, as I mentioned earlier. The other thing that I want to do, though, is I want to establish fairly early on a couple of the not the astronaut complex, mission control, I guess? No, the administration offices, so that I can generate as much science as I can from funds and from prestige. I'm willing to sacrifice some of my money and my prestige in order to generate income. Now, to do that, though, at above about a 7% level, hey, look at that, landed exactly on the engine bell. Pretty nice when you can pull that off, because I don't have any landing gear. To do that at a high enough level, I have to upgrade the administration offices. Because I want to get at least a 25% level. There is, I think, a higher level at 40%, but I can't wait that long. The thing is I want to be able to generate science even when I'm not explicitly doing science. And the best way to do that is to pay for it. So that's what I'm going to do. Total reputation, 35, so that's great. So let's just check that out, by the way. So in order to upgrade this, I need 225,000 that I'm not doing anything else with. So the upgrade gets me a max commitment. Okay, so right now my max commitment is 25. Alright, so it wasn't 7, it was 25, I guess. If you have enough money to be able to do it. Max commitment 60. That's a lot. But I'd like to get that upgrade before I start doing it, because there is an initial outlay of funds. Let's just double check that. So if I went with the outsourced R&D, which is money for science, to get up to 25% is an outlay of, look at that, 200,000 in cost just for that. But then I generate a lot of science out of it. Maybe that's enough? But in that case, I need $220,000 just for that, to say nothing of the administrator cost upgrade. If I go all the way up to 60, so that would require the 200 and some odd thousand for upgrading the complex, and then another 495,000 in order to set this up, and then almost all of my funds, a huge chunk of my funds, go into science research. And actually, if you take a look at this, the amount that it gets you in terms of funds is actually arguably not worth it. It's worth it in the beginning, but then the amount of extra that you get, now that I look at it, as you go up from 25 to 60%, is only about, per fund, good lord, not even 1%? Like, why would you spend this much? That's interesting. Like, check this out. If I did a commitment of 1% of my funds, then I get 1 science for every 12,940. Oh, because I'm contributing less of my fund's income as well. So that's where the gotcha is. So right now, I would spend a very tiny amount of money, and the amount of science I would get for it per funds is also low. The fact that that doesn't drop very much is irrelevant, because it's the fact that the funds, the percentage of the funds get spent over time goes up really, really fast is what makes it valuable. Blah, 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 blah. Let's get back to flying crafts. So, did not want to go back into the VAB. I got to set up new sciences. So I want to, 25% arguably isn't enough. I've actually gotten it to the 60% mark and still managed to make money and make boatloads of science. So, yeah. Like making science whenever I'm doing things. Mission control. Alright, Mr. One Viewer in the background. Let's see, what can we do here? So we're gonna get escape the atmosphere anyway. This one requires us being at fairly high and going kinda fast, and testing a Terrier liquid fuel engine. So what I probably want to do there is have a throwaway solid booster below it to get us up that high. But then I would have to time the cutoff of that thrust so that I'm at exactly the right spot and exactly the right speed in order to be able to do the test. So that's plausible. What about the solid fuel booster? Same deal. I would have to get up to a certain spot and then trigger it. Test heat shield. We want to get up to a certain height at a certain speed. But look at this. It's about the same height as the other one and not that far away from the same speed. Not exactly the same speed. However, if I have a liquid fuel stage attached to the Terrier, then I can use the Terrier to increase both the height and the speed to do the other test. Possibly. Let's give that pair a go. That could be interesting. So we're going to do that one at the same time as testing the heat shield. Okay, this could be interesting. By the way, how much is it going to take to upgrade mission control? Because I want to do more than 2 missions at once. 112,000. That's... I'm not going to do it yet. I want to be able to get up to about 300,000 before I trigger that. Ish. It'll pay for itself over time as I manage to get more things that I can do at once. But right now, that's not the case. So I think I'm okay. Alright, so let's do this thing. Nice message from my sushi place. We've confirmed your order from sushi place. Your food should be delivered between blah and blah, which is absolutely not when it will be delivered, but that's okay. It's about an hour away, so somewhere between now and then it'll show up, or actually later, because at least once they had a really... Anyway, it doesn't matter. Here we go. Let's lock open this. As you can tell, I babble a lot. So... we gotta build this thing so that we can get fairly high up. So we can't use those experimental parts anymore. None of them, actually. It'll actually whine at us. By the way, it is possible to build these things so that they're uncurbled, or in my case, unponied, as Kerbal knots, or equestronauts, I guess. I like doing all my stuff with man missions, or pony missions. I gotta stumble over that forever. Just because I kind of like that. It does mean that I tend to have more expensive missions, but I do recover the capsule, so that's not bad. It's really the weight of the capsule in terms of the fuel requirements, and of course I guess the weight of the passenger, which is somewhat less. So, test the heat shield. Right. Brain functioning. We need the liquid fuel engine. So we're going to need the heat shield on this thing. Let's make sure that we can do that ahead of time, because that may be a design thing we have to work around. Thermal. It's under thermal, which is the flame-looking one. Thank you. Heat shield. And actually, this is experimental, but we do have heat shields we can purchase. Well, whatever. So anyway, we're going to... Oh, it's a little tiny teeny one. Which means, since we're not actually going to be building this thing to be sensitive to heat shielding, we're just dump that on the bottom. It's not going to harm anything, and we're not actually going to use it. Incidentally, the capsule has a heat shield on it, at the underside of the capsule proper. If it's the thing exposed to space, you're actually probably ditch the rest of your ship, and otherwise doing pretty well. I suppose I could put the heat shield on top just for giggles. In fact, actually, we do want it there because I have to be able to activate it. So we're going to put it upside down there. We can put that on top, and I can still reach it easily without having to dig inside the ship. It's a nuisance. So the heat shield's on. So now the next thing is we have to have the Terrier liquid fuel engine as the next stage. Okay, which is going to be this... Nope, it's going to be the Terrier? Oh, this guy. Oh, interesting. It's a very, very small thrust engine. I wonder if I'm actually going to be able to do all that stuff I said I was going to do in terms of testing it at the using it to test the next piece at the right height. Maybe. Let's find out. That's more or less my design philosophy. Let's just build it and find out. So we're going to give ourselves not that much because we're already going to be up close to there, and I don't want it to push more than it needs to. So there's that, and it's going to be on the next stage down. But we still have to get this thing up to the right height, and it's going to be a throwaway engine. So we're going to just use the big engine, which will get us all the way up there, I think. And then we're going to have to decouple it because I'm an idiot, and I need to have a decoupler in there. One of these guys. And we're going to be throwing away the big engine. It's unfortunate. I don't think we have the tech to bring that back down in the same way. So, So, let's save that guy. I'm not going to preserve a lot of my old ships. So it's not going to have this huge archive of ships. These aren't hard to build. When I start building more complicated ships, that's when I'll start being a little bit more diligent about that sort of thing. So, what we have to do now is a little bit of experimentation to set the right thrust levels and or fuel levels to get this to exactly the height that we want in order to test the Terrier. And that's going to take a little bit of effort. We also don't necessarily want to spark up the Terrier at the same time as we finish off the lower fuel. We just want to detach the lower bit and let it fall away. So I think we are good. All right, Dashi, take it away. Our resident flight guru. And of it, largely the same demeanor when it comes to stunts and crashing as our pal Jebediah, but arguably more adorable. And possibly slightly smarter. Alright, here we go. So this is not necessarily going to work, it almost certainly isn't, but let's see how high we can get with this, because we are going to use this as a benchmark for what else we need to do in order to get to the right height. This actually may not be enough, but we'll see. Dashy having fun dancing in the background. I wonder if they use the same animation models. Oh my god, we are definitely building up some fairly serious speed. Let's take the let's take a look at monitor this. So we have to test the Terrier first. So we have to get to 59,000 while having the right amount of speed. So we don't want to drop below 750. We might be able to do this. We are really rocketing up towards the 59,000 mark. We do have to drop below 810. So we're about in the right ballpark, actually, to make this thing happen. But we're going to overshoot, I think. And we are going to have to tweak. Oh, so we got one check mark on the height. But we're not... and then we've lost it. Okay, so we have to reboot this or relaunch this. And we have to either lower the thrust or lower the amount of fuel. In order to be able to make that happen. I'm going to try lowering the rate of thrust, which will mean that friction has more of an effect on us and part of the flight. Let's find out what happens when we do that. We just have to get it to the point that we're still getting about the same height, but slightly slower. Because we were throwing away this engine and we're trying to preserve cash... and actually, we can't adjust the solid fuel or anything else about this in here because it's a solid fuel booster. We can't fiddle with numbers. We have to actually go back to design. So, thrust limiter. Let's try 90%. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't mean we're only going to go 10% higher. It's a lot, or 10% less high. Or 10% faster when we get up there. There's a number of things that make doing that mathematically a little bit tricky to figure out, even if I did it on paper, because obviously that thrust is going to be cumulative over time. So there's there's acceleration involved in there, so that's going to affect both the height and the speed at which we get to a certain height. And we also have friction, and the friction is going to be based on how fast we go. And there's all sorts of nonlinear math going on in there that I'm not going to try to solve in my head or even on paper, because 3, 2, 1, go. We're just going to launch. No math. We're not doing any math except very basic math at best. We're going to keep launching, waffling in on a solution, because that's the way I've always played this. I actually have a pretty good head for math. And I could probably do at least some of this. I could certainly write code to simulate it, but I'm not going to do either of those things because I just want to show that the game is fun to play. You just play it and have fun playing it. However, we are going to take note at the levels that we get to certain stages at, or at least the level at which we get to this last stage at. So why are we on fire? Because we've gotten going so fast and tried to push through the atmosphere so hard that we have literally caused the air to heat up. It's like re-entry in reverse. Nobody ever launches a rocket this way in real life. It's wasteful. So what you would normally do, actually, with a thrust profile where you can control the sort of dynamic output of the engine, is plan to be at a balance between... Okay, hang on, I gotta monitor this. And we still aren't dropping... Okay, so we have to do that again. We're gonna drop that to maybe 75% maximum thrust. Where was I going with that statement? Let's get this launched, and then I can babble again. Doesn't actually matter if I get it bang on, but I'm pedantic, so there we go. There we go. All right, save that. Launch it. Let's get out there. Got rockets to launch. Yeah. So I'm not a rocketeering guy. Go talk to Scott Manley about what max Q means. But basically, from my understanding, it's the point at which the pressure pushing back in your craft, because you're pushing up into the atmosphere, is costing you more fuel to push against than simply running at a lower thrust for longer. There is a balance point at which that happens, and it's well before you get to the point of fire on the outside of your craft. That's one of the things I like about MechJub is you can set it up so that it does it works out sort of an optimal launch profile that keeps the thrust limited, or at least it helps you work that out. And you can see this time the lower thrust is not catching me on fire, so I'm closer to max Q probably. No, there it is. No, we're firing again. It's because we're building up a lot of speed because we're actually, ironically, in the thinner part of the atmosphere. Alright. So 75%. We are trying to pass through 59,000 meters, but at a slower speed. And it looks like we're actually going to do it. We might actually undershoot this time, but that's fine. One, 2, 3. Oh, this is looking promising. This is looking really promising. 1 check mark. 2 check marks. And why did that not work? Oh, we just have to have the Terrier engine at the right height. Okay, so now I've screwed this up because we want to be between. We want to test that heat shield. We want to be between 1,000 and 1,400 meters per second. Maybe we can do it on the way back down. Okay. But to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way up, which gets us into space. We are, incidentally, in space. Alright, so, and by the way, why we're doing faster time warps than just ×4 is because we are out of the atmosphere. There are no forces acting on us other than gravity, which means all your orbits are predictable ellipses, and so you can there's no friction, nothing, so we can do the non-physics based warp. So we want to be able to get up to about 1,000 meters per second going down. By the time that we get to about 69,000, start monitoring this. So I'm going to try to work it so that I don't drop below the appropriate speed, or I get to the appropriate speed at about the time I hit 69,000 meters, which is going to be a little bit... Oh, that was dumb. That was dumb. Can we get to... Nope. Okay, so I've muffed that. Okay, but what we have going for us here is so we want to revert to launch, because although we have 1 success, I don't want to do another launch to do that single mission. I want to do both at once, which means that we're going to have to do this again. But we know one of them works, so we just launch again. So what I have to do is actually I'm going to immediately transition into launching the second engine. Because I'm going to build up speed, and I'm going to see if I can get there on the way up instead of the way down. Because I do not like thrusting into the atmosphere. That makes me worried. But we'll see how it plays out. It is actually easier on the way down because you're not fighting gravity. I mean, you're going with gravity, you're not fighting it. But let's see where this takes us. So, a lot of our initial missions are going to be a lot like this. It's going to be trying to find a way to pair or couple missions together that we can do all at once, generate income from it. And use that to build up our portfolio. Oh, I guess, actually, technically speaking, since I know that we can get there with just this one engine, I should actually get rid of the dead weight. So... And we got the first one. Oh, and... No, we can't do it. We can't do it in time on the way up. So we have to do it on the way down. Okay, okay, so... Also, when you're warping with non-physics-based warp, you can't turn your ship at all. Everything has to get locked down, which is problematic, but there you go. Alright. Build up some speed here. Right. I want to keep it at about 1,000, 1,100 by the time we get to 69. Oh, we're going to be really close here. No, I failed again because I was not fast enough at precisely the moment. Wow, this is going to take a little bit of finessing. All right. Revert flight, revert to launch. Let's go do the thing. We can totally do this. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Caffeinated bubbly liquid. I'm gonna be up all night. Oh well. The first part of this is relatively simple. We simply sort of, it just happens. Let go of the dead weight, float our way on up. Might as well activate the second engine because it doesn't harm us to do that. We're going to have this menu open so we can run the test precisely when we need to. I'm going to have the thrust down ready for when we hit the apex so that we can build up the right amount of speed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the apex. I'm going to start up the thrusters when I hit the apex exactly. Just make sure I actually got that first one. Yeah, all right. And then I'm going to monitor when I turn off the thrust so that I can start adjusting. Come on. Up, up, up. Slowing down, and here we go. So that actually got us quite a ways up. All right. I'm going to get up to 500 meters per second before shutting it off. No, I'm going to go, yeah, 500, maybe 600. Alright, there's 600 meters per second. Starting from the apex, thrusting down until I hit 600. So that's a good sort of measure of my timing. It's actually a surrogate for time. I don't really care about the speed as such, but I need to know whether to burn longer or shorter next time round. So we got to monitor this. In case I can control it to go. We are not going to make it, so we're going to thrust harder in case I can salvage this. The handoff just barely happened. Okay. Yeah, it switched over from one being valid to the other being valid at pretty much the same time. So we got up to 600. We're going to do 800 next. So revert to launch. Let's do it again. Three, two, one, go. And up and up and up and up and up. And yes, I really more or less got to the point of being able to build large space stations that I take off from here, some of which I had to assemble in orbit, but mostly not. Landing them on Duna and doing it in exactly this fashion. Just build the thing, experiment with the thrust levels I had to do to get to various spots in the game, rinse, wash, repeat. No complicated math involved, just time and willingness to experiment. Oh yeah, I suppose I can get rid of that. Bye-bye. Prep for the turnaround, which is up at 100,000. Right. So, physics mode warp until we get above the atmosphere. And it's already pretty rarefied at this point, but we have to get to about 70,000. Yeah. And then we can go into full warp. Whoa, 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 whoa. Alright, I left it a little late that time, so the timing's a little off. But we're going to get to about 800 meters per second before cutting it. And there we go. Let's check out where we stand. I'm hoping that'll overshoot because then I can apply reverse thrust. Let's get that part ready. Where is it? There it is. Oh, come on. Nope. Gotta go a little faster. Ah! Again. Revert flight. Revert to launch. Okay, so I might have gotten that if I had. So I'm going to go to 900 and I'm going to do it right at the apex. It's fine. Totally me. Totally me. Dashi doesn't mind. She's used to lots and lots of experimental flights. She loves it every time she gets in the cockpit. Don't you, Dashi? Alright. Do. And cut off. Detach. Flip me around. Prep for reverse thrust. Alright, so let's zoom back in so we can see the ship. Let's try not to overshoot this time. About 100,000, it starts slowing down and... Full thrust. 900 meters per second is our target. cutoff. All right. Not actually mean to click the run test button, but there you go. Oh, we're going to hit it at about the right point. Altitude, fine. Yeah, test. And success. Okay, so now we've got to bring it in and not die. We're going to accelerate downward. We're going to let some of the heat be absorbed by the engine bell. Too fast, don't like the speed. And I got a lot of fuel, so you know what, let's just... The engine bells are usually pretty good at absorbing heat. Oh, that's a problem. That's a big problem. That's a big, big problem. Because I wouldn't have... Okay, I'm not going to let that actually hit. So our big problem here is that we can't bleed off quite enough speed later on in that test. And I don't want it to build up long enough to... Okay, so... Alright. If I... After performing the test, now that I got all the numbers on when to trigger stuff... 3, 2, 1, go. If I turn around at the tail end after building up all that speed and immediately apply reverse thrust and not build up all that speed in the first place, maybe by the time I hit the atmosphere, I'll have slowed down enough to be able to use my parachute. Let's give that a go. Otherwise, we've got a bit of a different problem. I'm not sure how we would solve that. What we might have to do in that case is launch sideways so that we get our speed limits not going straight down. That's not impossible. Well, let's see if we can avoid having to build up sideways speed. Verify that we got the first part. Yes. Okay. Two, three, 4, and we're getting close to the limit. Come on. Yeah, there we go. All right, full thrust. We get to about 900 meters per second. Trigger the part, and immediately turn around. Spot at about the right time. It's going to be close. We got it. Okay, turn around. Full thrust. Definitely helping. I don't know if it'll help enough. Come on. Come on. Well, there's nothing we can do now. We don't have any fuel. going to make it. We are not going to make it. That bell is just too darn heavy. And we're going to spare Dashy that. So, if we could have thrusted for the entire time, we might have been able to pull that off. We don't have the fuel. Coming down that fast is a serious issue. Okay, so we are going to have to do something a little different. We're going to have to go sideways more than up. Let's try to do that with... Let's try to do that without having to compromise the knowledge that we have going straight up in the first stage, because that's working for us. What I'll then do, I don't want to be thrusting up any harder, because that's a problem. But I'll thrust sideways for a ways, and try to find the point at which I can get the right amount of speed while not going straight down. Let's go do a thing. Up and up and up and up and up. Alright. Get rid of that stage. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're pretty much going to go dead sideways for this once we get up to height. Whoa, 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 that was a little harsh. Alright. Alright. And we're gonna go up to, I don't know, let's say 700 meters per second. And the reason why I'm going to say that, that's about there. And the reason why I say that is we have, we're not going to build up the speed. We're not falling as fast, so we have more time in which to get to. I'm not reasoning this out very well. We have more time in which to get to the appropriate speed. Honestly, I don't know. We're going to be pretty close here, actually. Huh. Because I was not at the right surface speed? So there's a difference between orbital speed and surface speed, and I easily hit the one but not the other. And the difference depends on your orbital speed is sort of absolute with respect to the center of the planet and sort of a fixed orientation as far as I know. The surface speed, though, takes into account the rotation of the planet. And that is where, I mean, it's not really clear what the mission parameters were, but I thought I was at the right speed, and thought I passed through the right amount of speed during that test, and that was clearly not the case. Oh, SAS. Right. So, once I come back down, I want to make sure I'm listed as surface speed. when you're going straight up and straight down on Kerbin, the difference is not all that high, but it clearly mattered when I started going sideways, so... That means I'm going to go up to about 800 meters per second. Although now my numbers are off because I don't know what the difference is between surface and... Alright, pick a number, 800. So, let's go above. Target altitude. And again, I'm only doing this over and over and over to save money. Alright. So yeah, you can see the difference here is not huge, but it's going to be obviously enough when I'm going sideways to matter. So... to 600 meters per second arbitrarily. So it's 600 meters per second surface-wise. But I have verified I need to be at 1100, so 600 wasn't enough on the way up. I need to be at 1100 surface in order for that to trigger. Okay, so now I know that. That's fine. Once more into the breach. Hey, second viewer. I have at least 2 viewers. I guess that's in real time? I honestly can't tell. If you're not talking in the chat, I can't tell if you're there. Aside from a number. Which is fine. You don't have to chat at me. I'm just doing this for my own fun. Hey, welcome to the channel. I'm new. You don't know me. I'm just doing this because I thought it would be fun. So, I'm attempting to match these 2 contracts at the same time. One of them is just me going up until I run out of fuel, which I've timed to get me exactly to the point, or that now, exactly to the point of matching the Terrier liquid fuel engine carry mission. But the heat shield mission I have to trigger at the right speed, and I've done it, except... I was only able to do it by going sideways, or sorry, by going straight down, which doesn't work because then I'm coming in too hot, or I can't slow down enough. So I am trying a different tactic where my second stage, I'm going to try to get at least some of that speed going sideways, which I have used successfully before as a way to not generate quite as much downward speed by the time I get close to the bottom. Right. I'm getting up to 700 meters per second sideways. See if this actually buys me a bit of a respite at the bottom end of this. Otherwise, I may have to lift up more fuel into orbit and try to do a longer burn in order to try to slow myself down. And 700 cut off. Alright. So let's see if I can match the appropriate amount of speed, but I'm going to boost my speed if I find I'm too shy when I pass through the appropriate speed layer. Just been me doing the same pair of missions. Mostly in an attempt to save money. Okay, so let's speed this up a little. And that drops us down to the physics layer at 70k. There we are. Nope. Not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. Oh! Because, darn it, I didn't have it selected as surface. Alright, fine. Those mission parameters are in surface speed, which I have to change back once I achieve orbit. Very frustrating. 1, 2, 3, go launch. Let's try it again. Too funny. It's interesting, though. It's one of those things that's not clear from the game that those mission parameters are in surface speed. And it's not obvious when you're not paying attention that it automatically switches to orbital speed once you get above 70, and then doesn't necessarily switch back again once you drop below. Actually, it may switch back, but by that point, you've measured how fast you want to go sideways to the wrong level. Some other tricks I could do. I could actually burn longer, rocket up sideways, go into like a much flatter orbit, which will take some more finagling. Just make sure I got the one. Much flatter orbit so that I get even less high when I achieve speed, because I'll have built up some horizontal speed, which means that as I come in, I'll just be less high and coming down less fast. The trick is, though, to get the right amount of speed when I pass through 69 whatever thousand meters. Alright. Alright, so let's switch that right now. We're going to surface. Whoa, 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 whoa. Go. Go. Go, lots of thrust. So I missed some key seconds at the top end of my loop there, but hopefully that won't hurt me too hard. 700 surface speed. Let's get there. I think there's a pretty good chance that once sushi comes, I might switch over to doing something that doesn't feel quite so repetitive. I enjoy doing this. I just realize it's not necessarily super brilliant from a stream perspective. But this is my style of play, maximizing my flights. Come on. So we are not going to hit it, so let's accelerate. Get to 1100. Go, 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 go. Yes. Test, yes. Okay, so now immediately, what we want to do is arrest my vertical speed, but not worry about my horizontal speed. And the reason for that is that friction will help take care of the rest. Now, what we can do is watch the vertical speed indicator up here to see that we're actually dropping it down. I don't know how. I don't know if this is going to have enough of an effect, but and that's it. That's all we can do. It's not enough. I'm going to have to take a different tactic to sort this out. But let's find out what happens as we descend. Yeah, no, that's terrible. That's death. That's a lot of death. All right, shiny. That did not work at all. So we've got a new problem here. We're gonna have to do a lot more slowing down, and because we have only this little weak engine in order to pull that off, let's try doubling this, but we're probably going to have to adjust the thrust in order to go higher faster. And we'll fiddle with this a little bit until maybe we can get enough spare fuel in that upper stage to be able to slow us down to the point that it's not terrible. Let's do the launch. Yeah. Yeah. 3, 2, 1, go. I was playing Outer Wilds earlier today, trying to get all the log entries, and I still can't figure out which ones I'm missing. But I keep trying. It's a lot of fun. I just go back with that game to fly around. Guess I'm a bit of a space junkie. Who knew? Alright, so we gotta watch this, because now we've changed the parameters of the lifting capacity we have and a bunch of other things, so... we are way high on speed, but not as high as you might think. We're not gonna make 59,000. Nope, carrying that extra fuel was a bit of a problem. Okay, so we are at a position now where it is going to be really difficult to finagle doing both of these at once. However, we can't give up the contract. Yeah, check that out. We do actually make it up to the right height. We will probably get to 59,000. But we won't do it at the right speed. And there's no way for us to increase speed. Oh. We only have to haul that engine into orbit. We don't actually have to test it. Like trigger it, the engine at that orbit, at that height. You know what we could do? We could actually activate that Terrier engine on the way up to give us additional speed on the way up. That's what we're gonna do. This is potentially still doable. Gotta watch the mission parameters. If it says you have to test it as part of the staging on the way up, then you can't do anything with it until that point in the staging. This one just says you have to have the Terrier at the right height, at the right speed. So what we can do is we can immediately turn on the Terrier engine to give us additional boost on the way up to maintain the speeds we need in order to get to that top level. But that should mean that we still have enough fuel on the way back down in order to arrest our speed some. Maybe. Maybe. Let's find out, though. Go to 1100 meters per second here. Well, it's 1100 surface-ish before I cut it off. Hate that transition. I actually did not catch if we went through that or not. It does not look like we achieved it. I gotta revert that and try again. So that's a problem. I don't want to keep doing this thing over and over and over again. It makes for absolutely lousy streaming. It's how I play, but I get that it's not particularly good streaming. We're going to do is we're going to try to do this by we are actually going to wait for this to come down to the 810 meter per second region surface wise. Be between 810 and 750. All right, so we've got that, and now we're not nearly going up as high as we did. See, right. So what we're going to do. Because we are not going to get nearly as high this time. No, it's not that much less high, though. We're going to try to slow our vertical descent with the remainder of our fuel. We have more fuel to do that with now, though, by quite a bit. And you can see our vertical velocity meter starting to descend here. It's at about 100 meters per second now in the purely vertical direction. This might be possible. Oh, except that we haven't gotten the second trigger yet. You know what? Forget it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to land this thing. I'm going to take the one mission, and then I'll do the second one on a follow-up. Because this has started to get a little bit tedious. So amazed I have two viewers who are willing to sit here and listen to me blather on about trying to get all this done in one go. Oh well. Keeping us at about 100 meters per second falling, at least for a little longer. And that's it. That's all the fuel I got. But, is that going to be enough? Are we going to hit terminal velocity soon enough for it to slow down our descent enough to deploy the... Probably not. Nope, nope, very nope. Okay. This is going to continue to be an issue. So, we're going to do this in pieces. We're not going to try to do this all at once, because clearly I am not capable of doing that with my knowledge currently in the amount of time I have left. So, we need to be able to carry the Terrier engine up to the right height and the right speed, and we already know how to do that. So, how are we going to do this? We need to be able to slow ourselves down. See, the biggest problem is we need to be able to slow ourselves down anyway. We need to get this engine up there. But we need to be able to slow ourselves down, and it's heavy. But if we don't need to activate it, if it's just dead weight, then let's ignore the heat shield issue for the moment. Let's just take that bit of mass off of there. Let's strip this down to barely what we need in order to be able to pull this off, which is just the engine itself. Yeah. This is going to carry the engine up, but then we're not going to have any fuel to actually use that engine to do anything useful. One of the things we could do is we could actually jettison the engine once we're up there. We would lose the part, but we would actually complete the mission. You know what, though? If we're going to do that anyway... If we're going to lose the part, then let's actually put that heat shield back on. Okay, come on, brain. Figure this out. How are we going to do this? We need the Terrier engine. No, we already have the engine. We're going to need the fuel. Where's that fuel? I'm going to put the fuel back in there. Come on. Fuel back in there. The utility... No, it's not utility. It's heat. Thermal. We need this heat shield. It's just going to be dead weight, but that's okay. We're going to need the fuel because we want to get up to speed in order to test this part. But having done that, having completed that, let's actually ditch everything, including the fuel canister. Let's do this. This is crazy. This is probably not worth the effort, but let's give it a go anyway. Coupling. This guy underneath, then the fuel, then the engine. But we're going to need another coupler. We already have the coupler. This is getting expensive for various reasons. Alright. So, this stage should get us up. We jettison it at the right point, and I don't think it's going to be 75 anymore because we got a little bit of extra weight with the extra coupler. So let's call it, I'm just going to call it 80, and then we'll tweak it as we go. So, we got 80% thrust. That gets us up there. We complete the mission by carrying the Terrier up far enough. We then use the Terrier and its fuel to get us up to the right speed to test out the heat shield. We test out the heat shield at the appropriate time and at the appropriate speed, but on the way down, we then ditch the fuel canister that's going to be not empty, as well as the... Can we use actually less fuel? Let's actually maybe save a little cost here. Sure. Except that's going to require purchasing the smaller tank, which is a big cost. What's the cost of this? The cost of this is $72. So what do I care about? Okay, so that's not a big deal. So we're gonna take that up with us. Oh no, it's not. It's $275 for the whole thing. is the fuel is not worth very much. But we don't need to purchase this extra part, I don't think. So, this is the way it's going to happen. Let's... This is so nuts. Alright, Dashy, let's do the thing. Alright, so my sushi is going to be coming pretty soon here. So, estimated delivery time, it has not yet been delivered as far as I can tell. I'm going to go... Oh, hello. No, I only have a confirmed order. I don't have a confirmed delivery. I'm gonna call this as of 6 p.m. anyway, because I've had situations where they failed to call me, which is lame. Seriously lame, but it has happened to me just once. And I can't even blame the delivery company for this because they use their own delivery. It was really lame that happened, but that, you know, whatever. It only happened once out of quite a few deliveries, so. Suck it up, princess, I guess is what I'm saying to myself. Alright. So we gotta monitor this because we changed the profile of this slightly. We are gonna have to fiddle with those, with the solid fuel thrust settings in order to get this first stage, because that we're going back to bog standard. We knew that worked. Okay, so this, we're going to ditch that stage because we don't need it. I took a guess that I would need slightly more thrust because I was carrying up the extra decoupler, which they do not necessarily have trivial mass. So let's see where this goes. So we are dropping down. We got to drop below 810 by the time we get to 63. That is plausible, although we can... Alright, so we got well above 63 by the time we dropped, yeah, I don't know how, I did not actually watch that as close as I could. I'm going to drop that thrust just a hair. Which I can't do from here. Alright, so we're going to go to 77? Sure, why not? Launch. Go, go, go. Go, go, go after loading. 3, 2, 1, go. Go, go, go. See if we can speed this up a hair on the way up. Really tricksy to do the physics acceleration while under load. Don't like doing it, but... Alright, so we're going to monitor this to find out where we currently stand. So, one of these is going to get hit first. Ah, we got both of them. Okay, so that was a good number to use. Now we're gonna go sideways at the apex, but oh, that is not what I wanted to do. That is not what I wanted to do. All right, surface level measurements, because we know that that's how this is being measured. So, yeah. Oh, because it popped into my map, I zoomed out of my ship. about 700 meters per second we're going to aim for here, I think. There we go. Accelerate a bit. Figure out where we stand. Have to get faster than that. Run test. Got it. Okay, so let's burn the fuel that we can to cut this out. Like, we might as well burn it because we haven't. But we are going to jettison everything, and that means we're going to have less mass to decelerate, and we're literally going to be only carrying the heat shield. I'm okay with that. At this point, I'm okay with that. All right, so we are going to ditch that bit. And now we are going to present only our tail end to this. And what we really want to do is we want to match our direction of approach to exactly the anti-velocity direction, which is basically that X there. So our nose is pointing exactly opposite to where we're going so that we can have that happen. And we want to be real careful about that because we do not want to flip over on our way in. But you can see that our speed is dropping like a brick, and this is because we're not actually a brick anymore. We are carrying a little bit of extra mass, but that heat shield is probably not too significantly more mass than before. Not significantly more mass in the capsule itself. You can see we're easily dropping into speeds at which we can deploy the chute, for one thing. We're actually going to take this all the way down to 1,000 meters, keeping our bottom end towards the surface. Keeping our nose in the anti-velocity direction until we get to about 2,000 meters, just to save time. Because this is easily within speeds that we're okay with. So 2,000 meters and deploy. Keeping in mind that the chute actually auto deploys at 1,000 meters by default, and we actually have it at 5,000 because of stuff we were doing before, unless it reset. Oh, it did. So that's fine. There we go. We have successfully done both missions. Now the downside here is that we actually lost to the ocean the bell and the fuel tank. The fuel tank we don't care too much about, but the bell's kind of expensive, and on much bigger engines we don't want to do that. However, this got us to a point of completion of both missions in one run, which means we're using less fuel on the way up and down. And if we can't, recovery of parts is dependent on how close to the Kerbal Space Command you get. So the trade-off here is that if you can't bring all of your stuff back to KSP, you're probably going to lose money on the stuff anyway. And it was only the one bell, so it was probably the right trade-off, because that would be that cost against the recovering the bell, maybe against a second launch. I don't know. You know what? I could go about that all day. On bigger ships, it would matter more. The only thing I'm a little bit delicate about is that it's early days. So, but we got a lot more money out of that than loss from the bell, so it's all good. Good funds. Good funds. So while we're here, first of all, save game. 004. Ongoing local missions. I don't know what else to call it. We're going to check out mission control to find out what other tasks we can do here. Now let's see if we can make better choices as to pairing, because that was a little tricky. They're always tricky when you try to pair them up. Oh, so ferrying passengers is a lot of fun as long as you have, enough seating space. And right now we only have a one-person command capsule, so we would have to either have a passenger capsule of some sort, and I'm not sure if we have the tech for that, or we have to use 2 full capsules and just have one of them be a passenger. Totally doable, but those are often coupleable with other missions quite nicely, especially later on when we have such powerful engines that we can just... The problem becomes academic if we just add another seat or 3. So let's check these out. So of these, we don't have any we can do right on the pad. We can test the Flea solid fuel booster and flight over Kerbin. So this just requires us to get up to a certain location and trigger a really tiny engine. We do have to trigger it, though. We have to test it, which means it has to be in the stage. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to have any fuel in it. So there is that. Ferry forward. Oh, these. So this is a lot of fun if you've got a lot of extra fuel and a lot of extra parts, and I mean basically where you can hop around from place to place on a planet. I love doing it out in the solar system when the gravity's low. These are all suborbital space flights, though. This is great for prestige and money. These are not super sexy missions, but if you can get people up to orbit and down again, not half bad. They pay decently well. Let's take that because it's a fun, funky mission. So we're going to take that one. And let's see if there's anything else that we can do while we're trying to arrange that. So we need to... That's a lot of passengers to get up into orbit. Let's see if we can do it in 1 pass. If we can't, we'll do it in 2 passes. That's fine. This is another test heat shield thing. It's high speed on the way up. Ooh, and look at that. So the altitude is well within the atmosphere, but you also have to have a pretty enormous amount of speed. I don't think that one's cool, but I'm not sure I want to actually do that one while I have passengers. Let's check that one out as a separate go. Because that's going to be like... At those speeds, that's looking like literally on-fire spacecraft. So test liquid fuel engine. This is another Thud liquid fuel engine on a suborbital trajectory over Kerbin. So you have to be at a particular altitude, quite a ways up there. And it only has to be suborbital, so you don't have to get into orbit to do it, which matches the other one. But it does have to be quite a ways out there. On the other hand, okay, so you have to test it when it's out at that distance, which means it has to be a part of the staging sequence, which means that the Thud liquid fuel engine has to either be unfueled, or it has to be fueled and we jettison it, or I'm not sure. So let's, before we do that, let's leave the facility. Let's go and check out the Thud engine. Can we even get the Thud engine? Do we even have it on our list? If we don't take the mission, it doesn't become an experimental part of our... Was the Thud the one that we did before? Might be. Let's go check out instead. Still haven't had a delivery yet, so that's okay. Let's check out R&D. So, where are we here? So, that's the Reliant. That's the Swivel. I think it said liquid, right? So it's probably up here. That's the Terrier. That's interesting. Where is it? Bobcat, Skipper, Poodle. I don't think it would be way out here. Skiff Cheetah Thoroughbred. Really? No, it can't be way out here. It said Thud, right? That's Vector, Wolfhound, Mammoth, Clydesdale, Mastodon. Okay, anybody remember where the Thud fuel engine is? Or fuel... Interesting. So Bobcat, that's Pollux. Kickback. There it is, Thud. Oh, it's these guys. That's kind of cool. We'd have to have a pair of them in order to make it symmetric. But that's kind of interesting, because that doesn't need to be in the path of our traditional engines. Like, they're literally tacked on the sides. It would have to be way out there, but we could attach that to a small amount of fuel. Once we got out there, we could use it as maneuvering. We'd have to carry them back in, which is going to be tricky if we take all 4 passengers. I really like the mission. Maybe we can hold off and pick it up later. It does have to be done way out there, though. When I come back in, I'm going to want... I'm not sure. Boy, howdy do I wish I could take more than 1 mission at a time, or more than 2 missions at a time. The advantage to having, say, I think it's 4 or 5 missions at a time is the next tier up, is that you can then, of them, pick and choose the ones that you can find you can couple together, and they don't expire. You don't want to take one, though, and then give it up. And you certainly don't want to take one and fail it by letting it time out after you've accepted it, because that just costs you. I can't use this to... If I'm lifting up a pilot and 4 passengers, that's 5 capsules at once. That's tough. That's tough to do in one go. And that may be worth a mission all on its own without trying to couple it to anything else. You know what? Let's do that. Let's not try. But what I'm going to do... I'm down to 1 viewer. Alright, that's fine. What I'm going to do is... I am going to... I'm going to call this the Chariot. New. We're going to call this the Chariot. We're going to flesh out the very basic design just to be able to do this. What this is going to be is it's going to be a whole bunch of these. Can I not duplicate a part? Can I not duplicate this particular part? Why are you not letting me duplicate a part? I do not get that. Alright, well, we're going to do this the hard way then. Check that nonsense out. Okay. I'm going to do this... I guess I have one too many there. I'm going to do this a slightly different way. I'm going to... Boy, howdy, this is going to be interesting to try to do this all at once. But this is going to be our new challenge. We're going to use this. And we're going to make it wide rather than tall. And I think the reason for that is on our way back down, we're going to want to present a very large surface area to the air in order to be able to land a little bit more safely. Now, to do this, how do I want to do this? That is ridiculous. But it's not the first time. So with micro adjustments, I can get that to be basically like that. And, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. And then I want to then attach, not quite what I wanted. Let's try to get that. Oh, I do hate that, what I want is, and I haven't figured out how to do this yet, is I want absolute rotational adjustment, or no, I want relative rotational adjustment according to how it's currently oriented, and that's not how this thing works. Okay. Yeah. So So if I come off the front, it does something different than when I come off the bottom. It's just... I love KSP, but bless it, some of the times it, when I try to do this, it... Okay, it's not AutoCAD, I get that. It's still frustrating when it doesn't, you know, behave in a nicely logical fashion. So, if I do something like that, I'm presenting the underside of all 5 of these directly towards the atmosphere. Plus, I have a poor man's version of being able... So this should be able to land on its own, I think. Except I'm going to need a boatload of... I'm going to run into parts limits. I'm totally going to run into parts limits. This is going to be a challenge. Okay. I need to... Whoa. Alright, okay, let's, we're gonna toss that, and we're gonna toss that. Let's start again. Try with fewer parts right from the get-go. We can't get away from using this. And we have to use it out the bottom. But then I can use the... There's a positional slider tool. No, not that. Rotate move. Okay. You... slide out, but not sideways. Come on back. There we go. So, I mean, it looks dorky. I'm going to bring it in a bit, just to make it look a little less dorky. So there is a slightly better version of what I was just trying to do. So now I have a way to get all the passengers and the primary Kerbal in the right spot. Now what I can do is I can go and, in the utility section, add one of those there, and hopefully with some work another 4 there. What am I up to parts-wise, though? 14 out of 30 parts. So I gotta get this whole freaking thing into suborbit. I literally just have to punch it straight up as hard as I can. Well, let's find out. This may not work because, well, for a number of reasons, not the least of which is, don't know if I have enough parts to be able to do this next section. I could calculate it, but my brain's fog. So coupling, couplers, and then just straightforwardly all the boosters in the world, which then takes me over parts by, no, over mass? Oh, and that's where it's gonna kill me. That's where it's gonna kill me, is I can't do all 4 of those. I bet you I can't even do one. So let's take off the symmetry and find out where we stand. So I'm not shy on parts, but I am shy. I might not be able to do this just because of the mass problem. Okay, so you can't change symmetry, which is really unfortunate. I mean, you can't change it, like, since this is a 4-way symmetry, I can't then do a 2-way symmetry underneath that. So I'm going to take, okay, I'm going to take out the rings. Let's try to, see, this is why I said I was going to run into problems that were almost exclusively mass related before anything else, because I can always tech up to bigger parts, but alright, clone that and put it over here. So instead of using symmetry, I just have to manually add 2 of them. So that's fine, and then I have the decouplers, and then I have the parachutes. Oh my goodness, Celestia's Chariot is ridiculous, but, and I'm still over mass, but not by much. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually reduce the fuel to 738, and to 738 on this. How close am I now? Very close. So one more notch. And the reason I'm doing this is because I think I'm likely... Is that going to be enough? Oh, come on! Literally 0.12 of a ton. Grr, arg. I don't want to drop down any more fuel. All right, we're take a gamble, and we're gonna hope that. Oh, I think that 4 parachutes is gonna be enough. Oh man, this is brutal. That takes us. That's still over. Oh my stars. Okay. Alright, so if we have to take off 2 parachutes, we're going to do it this way. We're going to say... That's got it. Just under. That is the biggest craft I can possibly build. The most powerful craft I can possibly build, at least with the tools that I have now, I think. I have no idea if that's going to be enough. I'm hoping it will be, because these pieces are not delicate. So it should be able to survive a fairly solid impact on the way back down. Alright. I'm going to launch this and see what happens, and then I'm going to take a break. This may not make it up into the suborbital, but it'll be a lot of fun trying. Now, I grant you, I have a lot of science to spend still, and I have enough money to burn that I could technically just buy additional parts that might make this easier. Totally get that. This is more me goofing off to see what happens when I try this. So here we go. There's no thrust control or anything. 3, 2, 1, go. Nah, this is not even going to come close. These cannot possibly burn long enough to get up the necessary speed to achieve orbit. But let's see how shy we are. We're going to have to probably do this in 2 flights. Ditch those, and away up we go. See, the thing is I would need more powerful engines for the same fuel, for the same mass, and I don't think I can do it. And I can't upgrade my pad. So I'm going to have to do this in 2 separate flights, because there's just too much weight here. Now I could try to do this a little bit differently. The problem is, if I put all of the... it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Actually, hello. Hello. I might make this. Oh my stars, I'm gonna make this. I only need to get to 70,000, and I think I might do it. Come on, come on, come on! No! Just no! That is so painful. That is ridiculous. You know what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna see whether or not this would have survived re-entry anyway. Oh my stars! I just need to lower the mass a little bit. Okay. Okay, it is slowing down from re-entry, so that's good. To the point that, yes, I can deploy the parachutes. So I deployed the parachutes with only 3. Let's see how far that takes me down. Not bad. Okay, so what this tells me, I'm gonna have to give this another go. Actually, I don't know if I actually had the passengers loaded up in there, so that's another issue. But here's the thing: that's enough to land safely. I did that on 3 parachutes, so that's fine. It slowed down enough quite early on, so actually, resume flight, revert flight to the VAB. Actually, what I could do is turn this into a 2-stock launcher by basically taking that off and that off and that. These. Okay, let's do this as a paired situation here. Alright, so if we put that under here, take that off for a moment, put that under here, then add these, then add these, get rid of that. Except that we are going to have to do the trick of, give me a minute. That, which again looks a little dorky, but that's all right. Utility, these guys, and of course, what do we have here? We have, oh, we do have the radial mount parachute, so we could actually, in principle, add those. So if this doesn't work, and the only point of failure is the parachutes, I can actually use the radial mounts because I do have those in my tech tree. So that's a thing. But let's also go into the crew thing. Yeah, I didn't actually load these guys up. So tourist, 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 tourist. All right, Dashy. This will actually arguably, so it's the offset of having the extra strut parts against the mass of the actual people on board in terms of going up, and I think we might be at a net win here. But we also have the problem that we have less resistance to re-entry, which is a little bit concerning. So let's find out. 3, 2, 1, go. Kerbal Space Program. Doing Kerbal Space Ponies. Doing more with less. With hooves. Alright. So. I'm pretty sure we might, given the last launch and the fact that we're on fire. And actually we have less of a forward-facing profile, so less friction. So we are, I think, definitely going to make orbit by a wide enough margin. The trick is going to be re-entry. But I might be able to compensate for that a little bit by reducing the thrust on the rockets. Oh yeah, we're totally going to make it. In fact, we're going so fast that we're going to be way up. So let's just accelerate super fast, come all the way back down. And let's just see what happens as we re-enter. Because this is the critical thing. So we can do all of these at once. That's fine. But the trick is, can we do the re-entry here? And I'm highly worried about that. No, we can totally do it. Look at that, look at that. By the time we hit 6,000 meters, we already... so this is now totally solvable, and the only thing that makes any difference is... is whether or not I deploy the parachutes a lot earlier than that. But also we can... so this is why we do revert flight. But also, you know, I'm just going to have as a safety measure additional... I'm a little nervous. Well, no, we know that those 3 parachutes are capable of holding up this whole structure because they held up the other structure quite a bit. Let's see if we can do this by... Oh, we actually had less fuel than I thought we did because we reduced it before. Interesting. Let's reduce that another notch each. And launch. So we could have actually gone up even harder. Actually, we could have done that on the previous design as well. Could we? No. Because the reason we couldn't do it there is because that fuel, reducing that fuel, is what was saving us some mass. And we couldn't upgrade it any further. So Let's see where this gets us to, because if we manage to cross the upper threshold, but only just, that's actually better. All right. And up we go at 4 times physics warp. We're not going to make it, are we? No, we're not. Okay, so what we've learned from that is we really do need revert to vehicle assembly. We really do need the last bit of fuel. So we're going to go up on that. We're going to go up on this. But as a safety measure, let's actually take the thrust limiter down to like 90%. Now what that means effectively is, yes, we're still burning all the fuel. We do have to have them paired though. These are not, oh, these are duplicated though, so it doesn't matter. Because, yeah, so, word to the wise, when you're adjusting your limiting, if you did not attach these things with the symmetry mode, then they're independently controlled. If you do attach it with symmetry mode, then the values you set are paired, but they are in symmetry mode. So anyway, going back to the thrust limiting, the reason why that will actually affect the height is because you're burning slower, but over a longer period of time, you are technically burning all the same fuel, but more of it ends up going to fight gravity. The absolute most efficient way to burn all this fuel in the absence of an atmosphere. This I actually end up going higher for reasons I'll explain in a minute. In the absence of an atmosphere, you really want to put all your thrust into one punch right at the beginning, as hard as you can, because you spend no time with that fuel doing nothing but going against gravity. The longer you burn, the more of your fuel ends up going towards just fighting gravity. In fact, if you burn it at a super slow rate, you won't even get off the ground, because all of your fuel ends up going to fight gravity. So the upper limit is you burn it exactly the rate to just hover there forever, and you don't go anywhere. So you really want to punch as hard as you can right at the beginning, but that's with no atmosphere. With an atmosphere, you end up with that max Q situation. So I may end up actually going higher here, because there's a point at which I got to maximum speed. I hit max Q early on, and if I'm then limiting my thrust, then I actually use my thrust more efficiently. I use my fuel more efficiently. But in this case, that may not be... yeah, it's a little bit lower. It's a little bit lower. Alright. So what I'm going to do is, once I've re-entered the atmosphere, and once I've slowed down, because I know that happened, the minute my parachutes become triggerable, I'm going to. There it is, there it is, there it is. Launch. Which then helps reduce my speed. It's not going to go any higher than that. At least, having not been ripped off, they are acting as drogue chutes, so that's nice. Not as efficient as drogue chutes, but they're pretty good still. That should land me, which means I should have this in the bag. Because they all got suborbital flight. I should have been monitoring that, but that's what that means. At the very least, getting up and out of the atmosphere, the 70,000 K mark. 70 kilometers up. 70,000 meters. You get above that, it's at least suborbital, which is why that was successful. And it's going to be a rough landing at 7 Gs. At 7 meters per second, sorry. But not, I think, deadly. Nope, that is totally fine. You can go and recover the vessel. That was a successful A successful launch. I'm super happy about that. I am going to cut the stream here for a couple of reasons. One of which is I'm going to have to go get my sushi anyway. And I don't want to have to pause the stream sort of mid session. And two, I've done a lot of KSP today, literally 4.5 hours. I am going to switch over to trying something else if I do a live stream at all. I may do this war of mine. I've been doing that. I'm in the middle of a play session that I started offline, but I may stream the tail end of that because I've done the beginning part of that for quite a while, and I'm up to quite a number of days in, and it would be nice to see how badly I fail that. If I don't do that, maybe I'll do some Outer Wilds. I'll figure it out. But in any case, there's so I'm up to 160 science because I get, I guess, a little bit of science just for running around the world to new locales. And I got a decent amount of funds. I'm almost up to 300,000, and I don't have any debts or anything like that. I'm in really, really good shape here. It has been a delight flying the ponies with you here today. Thank you very much for stopping by. I may do more. I'm certainly going to do more later on in the week or next weekend. But we'll see if I'm into doing it in a little bit. We'll find out. I'm not sure yet. I don't have a schedule. So, this is Code Weaver. Thanks so much for joining my stream. This has been fantastic. I enjoyed doing this just because I enjoyed doing this. So, have a wonderful evening. If I see you again later, great. If not, I'll see you in the next stream that you're here. Later.